And my name is David Rowe. I'm the CEO of the MTEC SmartZone. I'm joined here by Patrick Visser and Nate. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. Patrick Visser. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer here at MTEC SmartZone Houghton.
Hello, folks. My name is Nate Yenor. I'm the Director of Technology Business Incubation here at Michigan Tech. I'm excited to speak with you guys today.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everyone, again for joining us. We're going to talk about commercialization, matchmaking opportunities. And to get into that, we need to give you a little bit of background about what MTEC is. MTEC stands for Michigan Tech Enterprise Corporation Smart Zone. We're one of 20 smart zones located throughout the state of Michigan. We're an incubator business accelerator. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation launched this smart zone model roughly 20 plus years ago. And the focus was to make Michigan more competitive. And for Michigan to be more competitive, we've got to take advantage of the innovation, the research that's being done throughout the state, and take advantage of the entrepreneurial spirit that exists. So our mission is to help create jobs and economic development. And I'll expand upon that just a little bit further. My goal and our goal is to create meaningful career opportunities. There are many people that come to Michigan Tech, love the environment, have a great education, but historically in the past had to leave the area to find meaningful career opportunities. Well, that dynamic has changed over the last decade or so, and we'll talk with you a little bit about how that's changed. But again, our goal is not only to create jobs and economic development, but help create meaningful career opportunities by virtue of helping create an environment where innovators and entrepreneurs can start high-tech businesses. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We operate in 3 different facilities. We're speaking to you from the Lakeshore Center here in Houghton. We're on the first floor of this building. Michigan Tech occupies the other 2 floors. We have the powerhouse right next to the bridge there in Houghton. You see the facade of the powerhouse there. And we have the space in the Judalis Center over in Hancock. We've got 7 companies occupying space in our facilities currently, and we have 23 active clients that we're servicing. So from here, I'll turn it over to Nate. You can talk about what you do with Michigan Tech in your Office of Innovation and Commercialization.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Well, I'm sure everyone here on the call today is familiar with Michigan Tech, but we'll hit a couple of highlights here. For example, Michigan Tech nowadays is bringing in roughly $82 million a year in basic and applied R&D activities. With 485 active researchers on campus and $22 million in scientific and laboratory equipment, we are constantly churning out new discoveries and new opportunities to create commercialization opportunities locally here in Houghton, Michigan. The Office of Innovation and Commercialization helps out with many activities, especially as we move our research from the laboratories out into the commercial stages for its first steps. We've got 3 employees active in our office that are constantly helping out faculty understand early value propositions, understand early customer market fits, and other critical milestones that need to be addressed prior to starting a startup company. Next slide. At Michigan Tech, we've got a slew of different technology experts, whether that's the faculty, the students, the research staff, interns employed from the university itself. We've got the brain power to create absolutely new and exciting discoveries that have commercial opportunities. In the commercialization office, we have an excellent understanding of early stage funding opportunities, technology licensing, legal support, marketing, pro forma, pitch deck development, business plan development, everything that you need in order to start your company with a solid foundation prior to pursuing investment and other funding opportunities. We have the ability through both our Office of Innovation and Commercialization, as well as a partnership with Husky Innovate, which is a group comprised of our office, the College of Business, and the Pavlis Honors College. We've got this opportunity to screen our technologies as they come through and start to guide them in the most useful and commercially relevant way. Forward. We have the ability and the expertise to support teams as they go to seek and secure non-dilutive funding, whether that's through federal sources, state sources, and other grant opportunities. And through our partnership with the SmartZone, through our partnership with Husky Innovate, and through partnership with other service providers, we have connections to the students, the researchers, and the entrepreneurial folks that may serve as your early founders or early researchers in startup opportunities. We have the service providers and physical space and the networking opportunities to build around the weaknesses that exist in the company as it starts early on. And we have access to investors with a focus on early stage technologies coming out of universities and out of the local community. So we have all the fixings to support the creation of an excellent startup. And just to reiterate, through Michigan Tech, we have discovered technologies and science that can serve as the early foundation of a product or service. We have the support to help you seek non-dilutive funding to work out some kinks in the technology before approaching investors and other dilutive funding opportunities. We have the commercialization experience to help you build the IP portfolio you need, to help you build the pitch deck you need, the business plan you need in order to pitch adequately to investors. We've got the technology and technical experts that can help modify, alter, improve the technology towards a new customer fit that you've discovered or finding it for the existing customer you are pursuing. And we have the connections to make a startup opportunity grow rapidly. What we want to do together with Michigan Tech, with the SmartZone, and with the folks out in our Zoom call today is realize commercial opportunities which leverage the technologies coming out of Michigan Tech, leverage the knowledge and expertise that the SmartZone can offer, and the technologies and people that can help build these startup companies. We recruit people to lead, own, and manage the startup companies, moving the technology, again, out of the lab at Michigan Tech into a private company that can offer that technology for the general public's benefit. Some of the other partners that we work with include the MEDC through their talent or their Tech Transfer Talent Network program. We can briefly support postdocs, graduate students, and others as they help out develop the technology further, refine it better. We can also support early stage entrepreneurs and residents and mentors and residents to help out several teams develop their opportunities even further. Through the SBIR and STTR program, we can often leverage around $1 million of non-dilutive funding into these very early startup companies to further refine their technology to meet their customer needs. And through the I-Corps program, we can teach entrepreneurial skills to technical founders and to our researchers so that they themselves have a much better understanding of what is actually demanded and needed out of a product for a particular customer. I'll turn it back over to David to talk about some of the other opportunities that we work with.
I'll jump in. This is Patrick. Just wanted to expand a little bit about the entrepreneurial ecosystem that you see here and some of the partners that we work with. My role in particular, I help to prepare startup companies for meetings with investors to raise their first round of funding. So several of the organizations that you see up there on the screen, Invest Michigan, ID Ventures, Michigan Rise, those are all state of Michigan supported early stage investment funds. And they will invest in startups who are at the pre-seed and seed stage. And so we have a number of startups that have been funded by these different organizations. In regards to Michigan Economic Development Corporation, they are a partial grant funder of the SmartZone, and we work with them regularly in a variety of areas. Next slide.
All right, thank you, Patrick. This is where we move from the introductory phase to get to the core, the meat of why we're here today. So what we're hoping to realize by virtue of this meeting is to expand our network of individuals who have ties to Michigan Tech, maybe an affinity for the area, given their time and experience here, but also have gone out into industry and have run businesses, helped business units start up, pioneer new technology, and perhaps have the means to be engage in investments in emerging technology companies from the area. So this is why we asked you to join us today. Before I get into that, I want to address one other issue I think that's relevant to everybody gathered here today. I talked a little bit about economic development and helping create meaningful career opportunities in the local area. Well, the other benefit locally is for Michigan Tech. Michigan Tech over the years has grown a large portfolio of intellectual property. And for the university to realize some of its goals from a strategic standpoint, it's important to commercialize that technology for a couple of reasons. One is quite simply economics. You know, the university licenses technology to various startups, and if that startup is successful, there'll be a licensing stream of revenue going back to the university to help fund its needs. So that's very important. And if you look at aspirational peer group institutions that Michigan Tech, again, aspires to achieve, you know, look at the MITs of the world, you know, and the licensing revenue that institutions like that realize is rather substantial. And, you know, Michigan Tech, we all acknowledge, is a long way from that. But if we don't get started, we're never going to get onto that path of success and achieve meaningful licensing revenue for the university. So what is the unmet need? So it's difficult, especially in the realm that we operate in, to anticipate what the need is. But in general, you know, we may have an entrepreneur and an innovator walk through our door. Maybe they've worked with Nate and Jim Baker and their team, gone through I-Corps, you know, have gotten some non-dilutive funding on their science project or their research. But now they're at the place where they need to look at this opportunity. Is there a need in the market? Is there a business or a service or a product or a manufacturing process that can be created or developed around this technology? And if there is, then look at, you know, we think about who is bringing this opportunity, who is the innovator, who's the pioneer. Maybe they're a great scientist or technician, maybe they have some business experience, but quite frankly, many of them have little to no experience. And certainly if they have some business experience, they may not be familiar with what it takes to raise startup funding, to analyze a marketplace, to develop a distribution system, all of those sorts of things. So what we're here today is to talk to you about, you know, the commercialization of innovation, and that requires the benefit from industry experts. Perhaps some of you in the audience, you know, could fill that role as part of our mentor network. You know, we're looking for experts to help support and participate in startup companies and commercializing the technologies that are coming out of Michigan Tech. You know, that requires building a bridge from the discovery process we talked about to bringing investors on board and developing, again, a business, a service, or a product that will ultimately result in paying customers. So we're looking for people that have, you know, sectional expertise, maybe functional expertise in one area or another. Maybe you've been involved in senior management. Maybe you've been with a large corporation your entire career, but you've been involved in starting business units, establishing manufacturing plants, gaining a new customer base. You know, those are experiences that, while they may not be in the startup realm, could be relevant to startup companies as they march down the pathway towards commercialization. Let's go to the next slide. So again, we're seeking mentors for individual innovators or entrepreneurs, advisory board members potentially as a company is formed and the founders need advice, potentially board of directors. We have a number of alumni that are members of various boards of entities that we've been involved with, potentially executive team management, or founders and co-founders of businesses. So these are all needs that in general we're seeking. So if you have an interest in any of these areas, we'd love to hear from you. We'll give you our contact information at the end of the presentation. Let's go to the next slide. All right, Patrick, why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, sure. So over the years, we've had a small number of MTU alums who've jumped into those various types of roles that David just discussed. And it's been very successful in helping us achieve the desired outcome, which is a launch of a company led by its founders, a product service offering based on that technology with a path to profitability, And then at the end, an independent, successful company. Next slide. And so we'll talk a little bit about some of the companies that we're working with currently, and potentially, you'll see something that sparks your interest. Nate, do you want to talk about Supirec, and then I'll talk about the other two?
Sure. So Supirec is a company led with the intellectual property created by Dr. David Schonert in the Chemical Engineering Department of Michigan Tech. This technology seeks to close the loop for many plastics that currently are just sent to landfill, and that value of the material is completely lost. Whereas many techniques today rely on mechanical recycling, which only offers benefits for a few cycles. The Supirec process leverages chemical recycling, which can indefinitely recycle the material back to a virgin grade material, and allows for many applications of recycled materials to be reintroduced into products where they can't be introduced currently.
And thank you, Nate. Moving on to Z Technologies. Z is led right now by Stas Zinchik, who's a PhD from Michigan Tech. And he's got a process, a pilot established at the APS Labs facility of Michigan Tech building up by the airport. And over the years, they've received over $10 million in different types of grant funding. And it's a really impressive pilot that they have up there that is converting non-recyclable plastic and organic waste into products for energy. And specifically, we're talking about pellets that are burned as fuel, and they burn in a clean manner. So it's very unique. Nioman is another very interesting company that has started up recently, and that is in the mining and lithium ion battery recycling sector. And so recently, Michigan Tech was awarded an $8 million Department of Energy grant to continue research on this particular topic and startup area. And Nioman is the commercial entity that's taking that research through a license from Michigan Tech to commercialize it. And so what's really unique about this is that this is a very new area, and there's a severe lack of critical minerals that are needed to build these lithium ion batteries to power the EV electric vehicles. And so what this technology does, it's capable of taking waste mine tailings and battery waste along with ore concentrate from the mine and converting that into battery grade minerals for those batteries. And so there's nothing else out there that's utilizing mine waste and primary ore concentrate as feedstocks to create these battery grade minerals. So we're really excited about the potential of this startup. Next slide.
Let me add a little bit, Patrick, before we go on, is that the impact of this can't be understated. We've all heard about the electrification of mobility in this country and throughout the world, and it's happening. There's a need for critical minerals to help make that happen. The one challenge is mining, and with mining comes mine waste or mine tailings, and it's an arduous permitting process. So if a mine can establish that the tailings it used will be utilized in a subsequent process to help recover additional minerals, nickel, cobalt, manganese, other minerals that are needed, and do it in an environmentally safe manner, then the permitting process becomes a little bit easier for those mines. So this will address an issue that that's critical to our path forward in mobility in this country. The other thing that's unique about this is that one of the partners in this DOE grant is Eagle Mine, the only active nickel mine in the United States of America. That's a significant partnership there. And then incidentally, there's absolutely no refining capacity of nickel in this country. And this process will allow nickel to be refined and processed in a way that it can be used in EV battery production. So again, that's onshoring critical paths in the supply chain of EV battery production. Go ahead, Patrick. Let's go to the next slide.
Nate, do you want to talk about Marina first?
So some other opportunities that aren't quite at the level of a startup just yet, but are getting there rapidly. Marina Tanasova has developed a slew of different chemical probes that have the ability to help out with various cancer research that is currently very difficult and may lead to new types of cancer treatment drugs. So testicular cancer, liver cancer, lung cancer, brain cancer, they are all typically very difficult to diagnose, oftentimes with very invasive procedures. And the probes that she has developed have an opportunity to make that a much less arduous, much less painful, much more timely process. Particularly as it relates to researching these types of cancers as well, they allow you to observe different physiological responses within these cancer cells that with current technologies is not possible.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit about tall and small designs. You see a photo there of Jordan Craven. Jordan is a senior at Michigan Tech, and Jordan happens to be quite tall. And her personal experience with clothing, living here in Houghton especially, she had ordered quite a bit of clothing online and often had the problem that it would come and it be, various sizes, but never, often it would not fit her. So she would have to order, a number of pieces from the same company, and then return the ones that didn't fit. And so she got the idea that, with the amount of returns that online clothing accounts for and the carbon emissions that are caused by that, all those returns represent, billions of dollars for retailers annually. And she came up with an idea to help address that. And specifically what it is she is developing an app that will allow an individual to scan their body and then produce a 3D visual and then work with clothing manufacturers and retailers so that an individual can visualize that exact piece of clothing on their body before they order it. And so we're real excited about the potential here. We just worked with Jordan to hire a CTO to help her build the software. And we've been working with her to try to partner her up with some clothing manufacturers as well. Next slide. Waldo is another company that's working with the SmartZone here. They have developed a software system and an app that helps automate the forestry industry, which is, historically somewhat antiquated in terms of their usage of software and digitalization. And so Leo Huta is the founder. He's a local gentleman that has a logging company. And because of all this paper-based processes involved in the forestry industry, he came up with the idea of trying to automate a lot of that. And specifically everything from the logging site through the process of delivery to the mills and back to the land management companies. And so we helped Leo get a partnership with top 10 timber management, land management company in the US that has operations here in the UP. And so he's been piloting that app with the company. They're very pleased with it. Leo's expanding his team and has recently closed on commitment in total of over $1 million in venture funding. Nate, do you want to talk about Smitha and the foundry?
Absolutely. Smitha Rowe is an expert in various types of advanced bandage materials, whether that's an advanced bandage that can treat particular types of wounds and ailments, whether that is cancer co-treatment devices that can help attract and trap metastatic cancer cells. There are all sorts of applications that Smitha has developed these various fibrous materials, these various wound patches into different applications. And similar to Smitha, while she does not, or excuse me, similar to Marina, while she does not have a company set up just yet, she does have a wonderful, highly experienced team that can develop applications, develop products for just about any application. MTU Foundry is working with an industrial partner to develop new generations of 3D printing equipment for cementitious materials, ideally intended to increase the efficiency of workforces as they continue to decrease in size. So maintaining the same building output while also addressing the shrinking talent pool and labor pool for this industry.
All right, thank you, Patrick and Nate. Those are some examples of clients that we've been working with and collaborating with over the last couple of years or so. They're at various stages of development. You know, one success story that we didn't talk about was Orbion Space Technology. Many of you may be aware of them, but Orbion is a company that's been founded locally it manufactures Hall effect thrusters for small satellites to help them obtain proper orbit and maintain orbit with and allow more space on the satellite for a payload that performs the necessary and critical functions of the satellite itself. So that entity employs over 50 engineers and scientists and other individuals in manufacturing locally. They've raised over 30 million in venture capital. They're generating revenue, selling product, and will have thrusters in orbit very soon. So that's another example of the type of company that we help commercialize and put on the path of becoming an active, growing, and vibrant business. Other future potential opportunities, there's a lot of activity on campus in cybersecurity solutions, bioactive and electro responsive materials for adhesion is another area of research where there may be some product development opportunities as well. There's activity around natural language processing for mental health and healthcare applications. There are a number of mineral processing innovations that are in various stages of a development that ultimately will have important industrial uses. And then there's research on campus through the School of Forestry around lumber and building materials. One example is hardwood CLT or cross-laminated timbers. Recently, MTEC collaborated with Michigan Tech with a professor on campus to realize a grant from the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, such that they could buy some equipment necessary for taking the process that's been developed on a lab bench to commercialize and produce large-scale cross-laminated timbers out of hardwood as opposed to softwood. And we're in the UP. There's a preponderance of hardwood species, and the goal there is to create building materials from hardwood pulp and hardwood fiber that isn't necessarily of a veneer or a saw log quality. So very important research being conducted there. So that's some examples of future potential opportunities. So in closing here, just wanted to again reach out to the participating members in the audience. Thank you for your interest, but we welcome questions that you may have. We would love to hear from you. If you have an interest in becoming part of our network, please feel free to reach out to us, or when you're on campus, we'd love to meet you in person. We entertain visitors quite frequently. It's not uncommon for Nate or others in his office to say, hey, so-and-so who graduated 25 years ago in chemical engineering is in town, and we know you're working on this and that, and they've got some experience in a certain area. So quite frankly, we'll get together and we'll sit down and meet with various alums that have come back to the area to visit, and in some cases they get engaged with one or another of a startup company as an advisor, a mentor, potentially as an investor. But certainly, we welcome your involvement. We welcome your outreach. The contact information is provided there. And with that, we'll close the formal presentation and open it up to any questions anyone may have.
All right, and I was gonna say, feel free, everyone can use the chat or the Q&A buttons there to type in your questions. Something that occurred to me, David, I guess, while folks might be typing in themselves, for the mentors and the advisory and executive team members that you are seeking, some of the example opportunities you listed were in very specific sectors or industries. So do folks need to be within those specific industries, or are you looking for general business acumen, no matter the business space?
So Jennifer, yeah, thanks. That's a great question. And the answer is it depends. But in some cases, yes, industry specific experience is very important. We talked a little bit about Nileman. We have a Michigan Tech alum who's a chemical engineer who MTEC collaborated with Michigan Tech, utilizing the T3N program to hire a mentor on a part-time basis for a 12-month period. And this individual has a lot of experience starting new industrial plants throughout the world, understands process and manufacturing processes for various chemicals, and has done a lot of new innovative work in his career for different products. And so albeit he doesn't have specific knowledge of nickel and lithium recycling and mining and refining, his understanding of chemical engineering processes and what it takes to go from a $5 million test facility to a $400 million commercial plant is valuable experience. So that in that case, that experience is very, very helpful. In other cases, if there's some insight in the industry, Patrick talked about Jordan Craven and her tall and small designs. We have connected her with a Michigan Tech alum, a mentor that operates a very successful business in the fabric industry. And Jordan we were able to connect her with the CEO there, and Gina is helping mentor Jordan on various topics, ranging from industry networking and contacts to, how do you deal with investors? How do you deal with, evaluating the appropriate CTO to bring on board? A whole litany of issues that a founder will be dealing with for the very first time. Then the other thing, Jennifer, is that, if people have experience in working with, regulatory environment, creating new marketing collateral materials and bringing new products to market and what that looks like, all of those experiences are important. And then we've had some people in the last several months that have started businesses on their own. Some have failed, some have succeeded, but lessons learned from that startup process in and of themselves, they may not be specific to the particular innovation that we're working with, but just that experience of starting a business from scratch is valuable. So it doesn't have to be industry specific or subject matter specific, but sometimes that helps. In other cases, we're looking for people that can help take someone and in some cases put the arm around their shoulder and say, keep working at it, it'll be worth it in the end. So.
All right, thank you. And while you were speaking, David, a question came through. Does SmartZone help with the patent process?
We don't, but we have a partner that does. Do you want to talk about that, Nate?
Absolutely. So Michigan Tech is responsible for managing the IP developed by our professors and our researchers. And so typically what happens is throughout the course of finding non-dilutive funding, we secure sources that allow for us to file on the foundational IP that led to this discovery, as well as improvements of that IP that allow for it to be commercially relevant. And so we are very intentional as part of our commercialization path at identifying both the commercially relevant IP and the sources of funding that allow us to protect those ideas. Then we work with the SmartZone and with the startup companies we create to license that technology from Michigan Tech to that SmartZone for its intended purposes.
And I'll add this, and we have had the experience in the past where community-based entrepreneurs or innovators have had the need to commercialize, or I should say, protect their innovation. So while we don't have in-house expertise with Michigan Tech and their network of attorneys and others that we have formed relationships with, we can offer guidance to innovators and entrepreneurs on how to go about filing for a patent. And and quite frankly, you've got to make a decision, or sometimes we can help them make the decision. Is it worth filing a patent for this, or is it better to keep it as a trade secret and not disclose what you're working on, and talk about the timing of filing a patent? So a lot to be considered there. And again, we have a network of individuals that have experience in that area that we'll refer clients to. And if there's somebody in the audience today that has experience in that realm, we'd love to hear from you, because there's never enough knowledge can be, or too much knowledge can be applied to a challenge that we have. So any additional experience or knowledge on that front, we'd welcome your contact.
Great. Another question that came through, could you also speak about investor opportunities or the Angel Investor Network?
Patrick, do you want to address that?
Yeah, so we have had a small number of angel investors who've invested in our startups. And, typically these are folks who are either in the area or connected to our area. And so we've held some different events over the years. We've had pitch competitions where interested angel investors came in and got a chance to see the pitches by the startup companies, and then we're able to make some investments in these companies. And we've also had an event where we had an attorney from a firm that we work with come in and do a presentation on angel investing. What does it mean? What are the rules and guidelines around angel investing? How you can get involved, things like that. So, there's an opportunity. I would just encourage anybody who has an interest to reach out to me. We are looking at scheduling another one of those educational sessions with Zach Meyer, the attorney. And so if I get interest from a number of people, that will help us compel us to do another one of those seminars.
Patrick, let me add that we have over the years developed a network of individuals that have an affinity for angel or seed investing and understand the risks therein and the opportunity therein. So if there are audience members that would like to reach out to us and become part of that network as opportunities present themselves, we will reach out to individuals that we think would be a good match for the particular opportunity. So we would certainly want to include anybody in the audience that's interested in becoming part of that potential seed funder or angel funding network. We'd love to include you. Our mission is to help make the state overall more competitive, more conducive to attracting businesses, retaining businesses, in our particular case, helping new businesses start up and employ people and grow the economy of the state of Michigan.
I'll just add that we don't take equity either in
Correct.
Startups. And, so really about the only thing that we've ever charged for is office space. If somebody wants to, rent out some incubator space. And more often than not, that space is at or below market rate. So, you know, we want to give a good deal to our startups when they're trying to get their businesses going.
And not all of the startups need office space. That's really, quite frankly, just a little boost for certain companies if needed. Any other questions from anyone at all? If not, we thank you for, should we close it out now, Jennifer?
I was just gonna say, I usually give it just another second or two because sometimes you're thinking of it and typing it. But otherwise, to your point, yes, if no other questions come through, feel free if you have any other closing remarks over there at SmartZone.
Well, again, thank you for your interest and your participation. It's been a pleasure to share with you what we do here. I will say that MTEC and Michigan Tech, although we're not the same entity, we have a very good relationship and we're closely aligned to help realize the common goal of creating economic opportunity and development in the region and helping Michigan Tech be a healthier university and an environment. Quite frankly, the other benefit for a place like Michigan Tech is that if there's a strong entrepreneurial ecosystem and startup system, they can go out and recruit faculty that may have an affinity in that realm, and they may be a star or an up-and-comer. And if Michigan Tech has an environment or an ecosystem whereby an individual may say, hey, I finished my research, I can start my company in Houghton, that'll create a better opportunity for Michigan Tech. And I'll address this last, we anticipated this question, but it didn't come up. Can you start a business in Houghton? And the answer to that is yes. Can you start a high-tech business in Houghton? The answer to that is absolutely yes. And if you look at Orbion Space Technology, who's been very successful, and quite frankly, that company could be located anywhere in the country. And when you talk to the founder, Brad King, he's frequently asked the question, why Houghton? And in addition to talking about, the skilled engineering, the labor force, the university, the proximity to the university, and the proximity to talent, they'll say this. They'll say Houghton is as close to orbit as anywhere on the planet. So why not Houghton? But the reality is, yes, you can start a high-tech business in Houghton. MTEC is here to help. Michigan Tech is here to help. And we'd like you to be a part of that if you wish.